I'm gonna give you a complete list of my most powerful sales tricks I've used to generate $115 million for myself over a 6-year period. But instead of you having to spend 6 years of your life to learn what I've learned, I'll just hand it to you on a silver platter inside this video. The first trick is what I call perceived control. The prospect feels like they are in control of the entire situation when in fact, the salesperson is in complete control. For example, if I say, hey John, would you consider yourself a good person who always tells the truth? And do you consider yourself someone who makes decisions quickly? John will almost always without hesitation say, yes, he is truthful and makes decisions quickly, not even realizing that by committing to this now, if he tries to lie or be indecisive later in the call, that I can use this against him in an ethical way to get him to make a decision today. People hate going back on their word, especially after they state it. Now, perceived control leads right into a very powerful sales trick. In fact, some people feel it is so powerful, they actually consider it manipulation. This technique is called mirroring. Mirroring is where you copy a person's body language, their tonality, the words they say, and even the way they dress in some cases. People naturally trust others who are like them and have their guards up against people who are perceived as different from them. That's why we always want to mirror who we are talking to and change to match each and every prospect. For example, when I did door-to-door sales, if an old grandma opened the door, I would turn sideways so as not to scare her and use a very soft tone similar to this. Hey, Mrs. Smith, how are you doing today? I'm super sorry to bother you. I'm just in the neighborhood with the crime prevention unit because of all the crime you've seen on TV recently. Have you seen that? Or if a man opened a door with a gun and tried to intimidate me, I would say, what's going on, Mr. Smith? That's a pretty cool gun there. How many times have you used that thing? If you don't mirror them, then they start to perceive you as different or weak. And in sales, being different isn't good because they will assume you don't truly understand them. So again, we want to mirror the person we are speaking to, whether it's in person, over DMs, or over the phone, because that is going to help build likability and trust, which helps increase the chances of the sale. And over time, this becomes mainly subconscious and you won't even have to think about it anymore. But in the beginning, just make sure to match the person's energy as closely as humanly possible. And real quick, guys, if you are interested in starting your own business and taking the skills you've learned from your 9-to-5 job, personal experiences, and monetizing that, then you'll want to check out the Infinite Income Playbook, which I have a link in the description below. And in it, we cover how to create offers, how to generate leads, how to close sales consistently, and even the fulfillment. Now, if mirroring is basically manipulation, then this next tactic might as well be as well, because I'm going to show you how to use pain to get people to trust you. Now, everyone has a story to tell, but most people aren't comfortable opening up and telling their story to a stranger. Everyone's had a bad breakup, a bad business deal, or whatever else in their life. But when we find someone we trust and who we feel understands us, opening up about whatever issue it is, it really starts to help. So as a salesperson, once we have built trust by building rapport, mirroring them, and allowing them to feel like they have control, the next step is to uncover their pain. In sales, if there is no pain, there will be no action taken. People take action when the pain of the action is less than the pain they are currently feeling. The easy part about this is all you have to do is ask questions. You can start at a surface level like, where are you from? How many kids do you have? And then work deeper and deeper. Things like, well, what have you tried before? How much time and money have you lost out on by waiting to take action this long? And they may say, oh my gosh, I've tried everything. I've read all the books, I've taken all the courses, I've hired all the coaches, but nothing has worked. So for example, if I was selling ad services to someone, I'd say, look, you're killing it on organic. But honestly, organic content can only take you so far because unless your following continues to get bigger and bigger, like Mr. Beast or someone similar, eventually you'll get no new eyeballs. So your business stalls. That's why we have to move on ads now, because if you don't do something this year, I can 100% guarantee that you'll be in this exact same spot next year as well. You have potential to 2x or 3x your business if we can get you more eyeballs. But that's not going to happen by just continuing to post organic content. And notice I don't just say, yeah, we'll run ads for you, which is not convincing at all. I see a small problem they have and I turn it into a mountain so it becomes a driving force for them to take action. And remember, most people coming to you, they have a problem, but they don't know what the problem is. So it's your job as the salesperson to find these problems and make them huge obstacles that this person has to overcome, and you are the only person who can provide them with a proper solution. But keep in mind, the only way you're gonna know what the solution is for them is by understanding them and asking the proper questions. If you ask the wrong questions, you may not realize what the solution actually is. Now, pain can be a powerful weapon, but not as powerful as doing the opposite of what people expect. For example, in the past when I met my girlfriend, I did the exact opposite thing that most guys would do to her. They'd tell her how pretty and amazing she was, how good looking she was, how perfect she was. And when I met her, I didn't really focus on any of that, and I just spoke to her about business because we met in a business mastermind group. The way I asked for her number was actually around a business context and trying to help each other with our businesses. And although originally I actually did want to just discuss business with her and I wasn't interested in her quite yet, it was very different from how most guys approached her. And eventually, over time, she started to want to hang out and get to know me because I was different from most guys. In sales, we call this the push-pull method. We push people away with our approach before we pull them in. So say, for example, John is at the end of the call and he wants to buy and says, "Hey, I'm ready to sign up." We don't just want to say, "Great, sign here," and throw a pen at his head. He'll be thinking, whoa, I said I was ready, but I'm not that ready. So instead, I may say, "Okay, I'm glad you got to this point. So before I let you sign, John, I just need to make sure you're going to work hard because we don't want people in our program who don't work hard." Then John will start selling himself and say, of course he'll work hard and he'll do whatever it takes. By not coming off desperate and almost pushing away, we actually attract them back in and pull them closer to the sale. This is the same thing you see in dating women, is that men who are not pushy or clingy will get more women than those who act desperate to get their attention. Going in line with not coming off desperate is using scarcity to increase the demand in your product. Scarcity is where you purposely limit the supply in something to make the product or service more valuable and increase the demand. For example, you have brands like Rolex, Lamborghini, Bugatti, and a number of others who will limit the supply of vehicles or watches to increase demand and help raise prices. They could easily make a lot more cars, but as supply increases, demand goes down, and so would the prices. So if you were selling consulting, for example, you might say, "Hey, right now I only have 7 clients, and we only have capacity to do 8 at a high level. I have one other person who is on the fence, so there's no pressure, but whoever says yes first is the one I'm going to go with, and then I'm not going to be taking on any more clients." Creating this type of scarcity might be the push someone needs to get off the fence and into the game. It also allows you to charge more as there's a limited capacity of space for said product or service. Now, scarcity is a logical frame we use that doesn't take much effort on our part to implement, and anchoring is the exact same way. Anchoring is where you pick a price and put it next to another price, and the first price is a lot higher than the second one. Because the first price is so much higher, it makes the second one seem much more affordable and like a no-brainer. For example, when I was early in my selling career and I had no staff, I would say, "It's usually $5,000 to work with me, but as long as you're willing to move forward today, and because I feel I can help you and you'll work hard, I can let you in at $3,200. Because they heard 5,000 and then I dropped it to 3,200, it made the second option sound so much better and affordable than the first. You can use the same technique with 3 prices as well, where you're trying to get them to pick the highest price by having a very low option. Let's say $2,000, a middle option, let's say $7,000, and a high option, let's say $10,000. The lowest option would have little to no value. The middle option would have great value, but then the highest option would have double or triple the value of the $7,000 option to make that one the no-brainer. This tactic can be especially helpful if you're new to sales and not very confident in your selling ability, as it tries to add pressure to one of the prices as more logical inside the prospect's mind. Now, conflict usually can be deemed as a bad thing, but in sales, you can actually use a customer's conflict to your advantage to buy more of your products and services. Conflict usually arises from 2 things. The first is a difference in philosophy. The second is misunderstanding. And for most sales calls, it's going to be a misunderstanding and not a difference in philosophy. The first thing you have to understand is your goal is to get to the truth. It's not to be right or wrong. You don't want to attack the prospect or make or argue with them at any point. Let's say they say your prices are too high, and they've talked to a lot of other people in the industry who offer your same service at a cheaper price. So they say, "I don't think I should have to pay that much for what you're offering. I don't feel you're offering any more value." The first thing we want to do is empathize with them and respond with, "Hey, I totally get where you're coming from. To make sure I understand, you're saying that there's competitors out there offering the same thing as us, supposedly at a cheaper price. Is that right?" And they'll respond with, "Yes." The key is to not get defensive or combative. In fact, a good rule of thumb here is to reference a previous client. We call this feel, felt, found method. I hear what you're saying, John. Some of our clients felt the same way, but what they found was that when they worked with these other guys, they said that they could do this and that, but in the end, the services they were promising didn't come to fruition. Usually you can have 2 of 3 things: cheap, fast, and easy. You guys want fast and easy, so it won't be cheap. If the competitor is offering cheap and fast, it certainly won't be easy and it probably won't be good. Ultimately, you have to make the call, but you get what you pay for in most cases. Hopefully, you see conflict is not something to avoid and calling out the prospect isn't either. Sometimes you'll be in the middle of a sales call and everything seems like it's going great, but you have a feeling deep down they aren't going to buy. You may not even know what it is, but you just have that feeling deep in your gut. Maybe it's a look they give you or their eyes open wide when you say the word expensive or pricey. But here's the trick. If you feel it, just say it. For example, if you feel someone doesn't have the funds, just say, you know, I may be wrong, but I just have this funny feeling that the pricing may be too high for you. Is that right? Or, hey, you seem pretty disinterested in this call. Are you sure you want to do this? Because you look bored. By being brutally honest, it may throw them off guard and get them to think, wow, this person is so honest, which builds more trust and actually makes it easier for them to close. Worst case, they agree with you, at which point you can wrap up. We only have a limited amount of time and energy, so we want to make sure we are always talking to the right people. Just say it and get to the truth. Don't be afraid. Now, you may think that talking more and fast is going to help you close more deals, when in reality, you just need to listen. Amateurs in sales think that they have to be loud and bold to make a statement, but it's not true. The best salespeople are great listeners. In fact, have you ever been in a conversation where someone talked the entire time and then told you how great a listener you were? That's because people love talking about themselves, and the more they talk, the more control you actually have in the sales pitch. A lot of times it's simple things like nodding your head up and down or asking them to tell you more about that, being engaged by looking them directly in the eye and taking notes. There's a saying, people only care once they know how much you care, and it's so true. By listening and leading with questions, we can actually make the prospect think buying is their idea. Nobody likes to be told what to do, right? If you say something like, buy this thing to fix your problem, you have no idea what you're doing. That is never going to land well. You can't tell people what to do, but you can ask questions that put a seed in their head that helps them come to the proper conclusion. If you see they have a leads problem, I might say, man, sounds from what you said you have a big leads issue. How long has this been going on? Do you feel you can keep running the business this way, or does something have to change? As you say this, people will start to think of the solution on their own because your questions are directing them where you want them to think. These are the 10 sales tricks that feel like cheating. If you want to see how I go from 0 to $1 million in 12 months, just click here.